based off of NIP60 and NIP61. So yeah, first off, for those who aren't aware, just a quick little Nostr breakdown. The way that I like to think about it is essentially as a decentralized publishing protocol, not necessarily a social media protocol. So you have a permissionless way of broadcasting notes and events of different types. Most popular is obviously like Twitter clones, so like just short text notes. My client, for example, is a marketplace client, so you can make marketplace listings. And essentially, it's a relay-based system, so it's not purely peer-to-peer, and it relies on relay architectures in order to actually function properly. But you can, the user has the ability to very easily swap in and out of using these different relays. They can run their own, which gives it gives Nostr that censorship resistance, and I think most importantly, the public key usage for identities allows users to be able to have a portable identity that they can take from one app to another and take all the information, all their tweets, all their shit posts, all their memes, all their money, which we're getting into at the moment. So yeah, just diving right into it, this is the NIP60 Wallet Event. So essentially, let me try and, yeah. Okay, so yeah, basically, this NIP60 Wallet Event is the event that specifies exactly how to find your cashew notes and what relays, what mints you're using. You broadcast it as widely as possible. So whenever an individual wants to actually pay you into your wallet, or you want to claim tokens, they can very easily find it. So it essentially specifies the mints that are going to be used in your wallet, and you can have multiple different wallet instances. You can have one on different clients, but the power of it is obviously that you can actually take that wallet balance and take it into various different implementations. So yeah, it specifies the mints that you're going to be using, and only those mints will be used whenever you're claiming cashew tokens and receiving zaps. It specifies the relays that you will actually be storing the ecash notes to. And this is very important because if you're just using any relay, especially a free relay, you can't really guarantee that those notes are actually going to be stored over time. So you want to be specifying trusted relays that you know that they're either going to have high availability, they're yours, that you control. And you just want to ensure that you don't actually just deposit money into this and then it's just gone. And it's a sacrifice to the ecash gods. So, and within the content of the wallet event, which as you can see here, it's encrypted, and it essentially caches the balance that approximates how much ecash you actually have stored on the wallet event itself. It doesn't have to be an exact approximation. It's just a way to just, before you actually pulling down all the proofs, verify whether or not they've been spent or not, you can just show the user, like, here's an approximation of exactly what you have. And then there's also a private key, which is used to unlock the pay-to-pub key locked cashew tokens, which we'll get into a little bit more whenever we talk about zaps. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, yeah. So this is the NIP60 token event itself. So this is just very simply how the proofs are stored on the relays. So it just encrypts the proof, the unencrypted cashew token proof, with the mint specification, the actual proof itself, or proofs, however many you have. And at the bottom there's a tag that it's an addressable tag that references the exact wallet that you have those specific cashew token proofs stored in. Yeah, and it's a kind735, has the encrypted proofs, and it just has the information. Very, very simple. So yeah, what exactly can you do with the NIP60 wallet? Well, one, obviously you can send money and you can receive money. When sending money, you have basically three options. You can either send to another mint, so via Lightning. So this is meaning like I can send money from my wallet to someone else's either a NIP60 wallet or cashew wallet, and you just pay out with using a Lightning invoice and redeem an ecash token on the receiver's end. You can also send to the same mint. So if someone is running the exact or has their money on the same mint that you do, you just create an ecash swap, and it's very simply there. Or you can pay out to Lightning invoice. So if the receiver doesn't actually want an ecash token, they can just very simply give you a Lightning invoice, you pay out to it, and it's just redeemed. On the receiver side, you can either receive via Lightning, which is obviously just generate an invoice, get a mint quote, and you mint some ecash, or you can receive via an ecash swap. Simply, again, just getting an ecash token, swapping it into your wallet, and it's there for you. And what else can you do with NIP60? Well, in the spirit of Pablo, you can also zap these nuts. So zapping, if you're unaware, on Nostr is a way of just basically sending like a little micro payment to another user to, I guess, signal that they have something valuable that they posted, and it's just a public payment. And the public payment part is important, and we'll get into a little bit in a second. So yeah, this is just the NIP61 info event. This specifies the relays that you want to be receiving the zap event to. So in order to actually have them like shown, displayed on the client, like if you're just zap and then like that note that zap event gets published to some relay that like you did not specify, no one's going to be able to find that zap event. And it specifies the mints and denominations that you want to be receiving ecash in. So whatever different mints you're using and the specific currency that you're comfortable receiving the ecash tokens from in that specified mint. And then the pub key here, this is in relation to in the wallet event, if you remember the private key that's stored there. So in certain cases, particularly when you're using like NIP07, like extension signers, or NIP46, like Nutsack bunker signers, the clients don't have direct access to the private key of the user who is receiving the money. So you could generate a pub key that is not associated with the Nostr identity at all, and a private key, and you lock that into the wallet event. And whenever you're actually receiving these zaps, which because they're public payments, they have to be locked to a pub key. Otherwise, anyone could just like read the note and say, "Oh, there's money in there," and just take it. So this ensures that it's actually locked to a person who has control of the private key, and that it can only be redeemed by that individual themselves. So yeah, again, kind 1019, the mints, it specifies the mints that are going to be used, the relays to be used, the currency that you want to receive money in, and the pay to pub key locking info. So yeah, this is the actual NIP61 like zap event, or in this case, the Nutsack event, and it just very simply contains the content message. So in a zap, you can just send specifically like a little short text string saying why you zap them, the pub key of the person who actually sent the zap, how many sats are actually locked up in the ecash note, the unit that you're actually sending the value in, the actual specified proof that allows you to actually unlock and receive the tokens themselves, and then the mint that it was generated from, the event and relay hint. The relay hints are very important whenever you're actually working with Nostr stuff. Otherwise, you run into the issue as if you have used Nostr, you've probably seen like no event found in your relay list, like still loading, not trying to find event. With the relay hints, it makes it a lot easier just to make sure that like, okay, at least I can ensure that on this specific relay, I'll be able to find this event and still display it to the end user, to not just like hope that you find one. And at the very end, it's just the pub key that you locked the ecash to. Yeah, just again, very simply, message content, the sender pub key, the token proofs that you minted, the mint that you used to mint it, the event ID and relay hint to make it a little bit easier to find the event, and the receiver pub key itself. Yeah, so whenever you're actually going through the flow of zapping someone, so like on the client side, like the client has to make sure that they're actually fetching the kind 10,019. And if you're familiar with Nostr, the 10,019 is essentially like the 10,002 relay list events that clients use in order to make sure that you have the appropriate relays to and just query content and fetch content. So you fetch the info event to make sure that you're pulling from you're getting the right information to send to the right mints, send to the right relays, and then whenever you're actually paying, you swap or mint tokens to one of the receiver's mints. You just find whatever ones that they prefer or specify, and you can mint into it. And one thing you can obviously do, like now that we have or that we're building out multipath payments, you'll be able to actually like deposit into like multiple mints and like kind of spread out the ecash risk. And then you just publish the zap event, broadcast it to the relays that were specified, so it's actually shown, and you have the zap receipt. Yeah, and one of the few of the things that like this type of system actually unlocks, so there's no need for lightning addresses on Nostr anymore. That's one of the biggest issues. Like zapping is great, and it's like it is a really cool thing whenever someone realizes like, oh, I can receive like a few pennies, $1 even if I shit post or put something out there. But because of the need to actually get a lightning address, it can be a little bit complicated, at least in my opinion, for a lot of new users, especially ones that have no idea how to use Bitcoin. Like it gets very, very difficult, and you have to create a new account for a lot of things, use your email, and just it gets a little convoluted. There's also no need to download an external wallet app. In that sense, like obviously the clients themselves have to implement ways of rendering or like actually showing and using the wallets. But because of the fact that the token and wallet events are actually stored on the relays themselves, you can very easily just move over to another client. Your wallet balance can just show up, and then you can just spend it, use it. So like for example, like with Highlighter, which is Pablo's client, where she first implemented the NIP60 wallet, you can earn some money from getting zapped or just people paying out to your Lightning address, and you can even swap into from the Lightning address balance into your ecash balance, and you can go over to another client like Shopster or a Nutsack and you can just start spending and using that money very very simply. And again, reiterating the point, there's money everywhere. So because of the fact that you have a singular identity that you can take over to any multiple client, you can very simply just carry over your balance from one client to another, spend it, use it, and you just don't have to worry about how to like top up and like make sure that you have to like on Nostr. One clunky thing is like whenever you're collecting a Lightning wallet for zapping, you have to use like a Nostr wallet connect string, and like it can be a little convoluted whenever you're going from one client to another and like copying and pasting the string all the time and opening up new permissions for it. So this way, you just simply have your cash wallet balance and you can just start zapping from there because it's just based on the relays themselves. And most importantly, I think the greatest thing that this unlocks is that your grandma can use it. Obviously, like with one thing that Callie's actually mentioned before is like one of the target demographics for Cashew is the grandma selling mangoes on the side of the street. We want to make it as simple as possible for people who have never touched Bitcoin and who just want to receive money for their products and services. That we want to make it as easy as possible for them to actually do so. And ecash makes it it's an order of magnitude like change in how simply we can get people onboarded onto Bitcoin, because especially like it's essentially just a text message. You can literally text someone over iMessage like, hey, here's an ecash note, and they have Bitcoin that they can spend. Obviously, there's other things you have to consider like pay to pub key, and like rendering the token itself. But there's a lot of things you can do to make it very very simple, and essentially treat it exactly like cash. So like you could just render the thing as like a little cash dollar, and it says the actual USD amount or the euro amount, and makes it very very easy for people to actually start using and spending the ecash notes wherever they are. Yeah, and just to end it off, because pretty quick presentation, just to leave some room for questions and comments. But yeah, these are some reference implementations you can check out just to see and like practice around. Definitely gonna find some bugs, especially since like it's very very early. So like we have nutsack.me. That's Pablo's initial like proof of concept client to start playing around with actually zapping and using a NIP60 cash wallets. And actually, the only other client that I'm aware of that implements nutzaps is actually Satshoot, which is like a freelancing client built on Nostr. Then there's Highlighter, which has the full NIP60 cash wallet support. NDK, which is integrating it into their Nostr development kit to make it easier for new client developers who are building on NDK to just simply integrate it. Shopster.store, which is my client. You can just go to the wallet app, start playing around with actually minting and creating new wallets and using the money around different social clients. Safebox, which is made essentially, it's currently in its infancy stage. It's like being developed out, and you can like currently use it using the CLI. So it's just like a tool to make it very easy to spin up new like NIP60 cash wallet implementations, like manage the relays and all that stuff for you. LNW.cash, Nuts.cash, and Sovereign.app, which are like more recent cash wallet implementations that have been coming out, but they're really cool because again they're integrated with NIP60. So like as this stuff gets built out more and more, we'll be seeing a lot more like dynamic usages of like being able to like carry over balances from different services. So like the most exciting thing is really like I can earn money on Shopster and then zap someone, and then I can like pay for someone to like compute a DVM, and then I take money from one end, use it in a completely different area, and it's just like it's magic. Yeah, it's money. There you go. And yeah, that's basically it. And if there's any questions, any comments, please feel free, and yeah, I'll answer them if I can. Oh yeah, the mic. You can just go for it. I'll reiterate the question. With NDK, I personally don't have too much experience of it, but from what I've heard from the people who do use it, it's a Pablo project, so it's very like it's all out there, has everything for you, but it can have a few bugs in there. Like you might have to like iron out things out yourself. I actually personally use just Nostr tools, and it was a very it took a bit just to like probably the biggest consideration was like deleting proofs. That was like the hardest thing to like manage. But yeah, just using cash UTS and Nostr tools, just being very low level. That's a pretty simple experience, at least in my case. It didn't take too much to get ramped up and started. Just simple look at the spec itself, and then you're good to go. Yeah. Particularly with the NIP60 stuff, I'm not aware of any that is out. I know like the cache development kit is being developed by the Simple Kit, and that'll I'm assuming eventually start developing some support for that. But yeah, at least at the current moment, I'm not sure of any Rust support for that. Oh, yeah. Uh, the mics are not functional. Yeah, you can only see those apps if you're using that specific event kind for like at least rendering that specific event kind for the zap. So like at the moment we have just the normal Lightning zaps, and like the benefit that like the obviously the ecash ones have is that they're more verifiable because you can like fetch the ecash token and see whether or not there's still sats locked to it. But yeah, you have to have support for that specific event kind in order to render it. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so like the only two that I'm aware of that fully in production use it are Nutsack, which is can be a bit buggy, and SatShoot, which actually works pretty seamlessly. At least like if you were we had like a little hack day on Wednesday that was actually showing off had a few different projects, and on SatShoot one of the ways like to finalize payment is actually using the public Nutsapp. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh yeah, yeah.
Hey, okay.
Yeah.
So I read the spec from NIP60, sorry. And I was confused by the encryption since it didn't specify which public key you use, but I guess you just encrypt it to yourself.
Yeah, so you can either, in the case where like the client actually has access to the private key, you can lock it to like my pub key, and you store the private key with like locally in that content string and encrypt it. But some oftentimes you're not going to have the ability to actually access the private key, so you can generate a completely unrelated one that the user has control over, then has access to and can actually see. That so then they can unlock the cashew tokens using that specified private key. That's not related to their sole Nostr identity. If you have access to NIP07 or like the extension signing and NSEC bunkers, then like that issue doesn't really arise as much. But that's if you're like an Android developer or like a more native app developer, then you're not going to have that ability.
So if I understood correctly, I basically generate a new key pair just for the NIP60 stuff, and then I use my npub, which I use for everything else.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and you can in the Zap event you can receive to that specified public key, but you'll be also you can have there's an alternative tag that because there's the P tag that is the specific public key that you're receiving the Zap to, which it contains like the secret key that you can actually unlock the ecash tokens with, and there's another tag which is the pub key tag, which shows the actual person that is receiving the ecash node itself.
Right, I remember the wallet.
Yeah,
its own key. Okay.
Why did you choose ecash instead of Lightning on Shopster, except for privacy reasons?
The main thing was privacy reasons, and actually, because initially, like I started working on Shopster like getting right out of college, so I hadn't really had much development experience like doing anything outside of like internships and stuff. So it was just a simple way of actually like facilitating payment. and I quite like the great thing was like the privacy aspect of it, but it actually simplifies a lot of things like checkout, for example. One thing I'm going to be like releasing soon is you'll be able to have your cart. You don't have to deal with like the annoying zap split stuff. You can very simply just pay out multiple ecash tokens to different people very simply, like without having to deal with all the different lightning invoicing and making sure that things are split properly and all that stuff. I think it's just it's a bit simpler of a payment mechanism. And one of the things is that the big thing, because Shopster currently has its own like NIP60 wallet implementation, so it's like a native wallet built into the app. And the big thing was that I wanted people who had never touched Bitcoin but were just like, oh, I want to be able to sell my items and receive money for it. They could just very simply get it without needing to have downloaded another like wallet app. Because like especially like with my dad, for example, he just can't, like he doesn't like downloading things, and and it's just a little too complicated for him to go to the app store and download something. Even just like people my age, like they just don't really like downloading new apps. Unless it's like for some meme or like social media thing. So the Bitcoin wallet apps themselves, it can be a little hard to get people to start using and like get used to it. Because like what Phoenix is probably the best Lightning wallet we have, and it can be pretty complicated for like new people to use. So like Cashew just simplifies that process so much for people. Like my grandma can just get on, sell her like knitted clothing, and just receive money, which like she has. So it makes it it's a really nice experience for people that just has never touched Bitcoin. And one thing that we can probably do to like improve that a bit is also using stable ecash notes. Like just give people reassurances of how much like fiat value they have, because a lot of people still aren't comfortable with like the SAT denomination and like being on a SAT standard. And we can just kind of simplify that as well. Like ecash has a lot of really cool properties that allow us to not like fuck with the base chain and like actually start building cool shit. Cool. If that's it, yeah, thank you guys. Yeah.